In the reading, Marx, Capitalism and Alienation, John Brahman describes the unpublished study by Karl Marx titled Economic and Philosophical Manuscripts of 1844, in which Marx formulates his theory of alienation. This theory is the basic contention that in modern industrial production under capitalist conditions, workers will inevitably lose control of their lives by losing control over their work. In this kind of modern industry, according to Marx, class struggles are created and enforced as work is assigned in a process of simple, repetitive tasks which workers perform in a machine-like fashion. This kind of work, according to Marx, leaves workers with no control over any aspect of their lives. He firmly believed that capitalism needs to be abolished as much as any other political oppression if a society's emancipation is to be complete. Throughout the passage, Marx advocates for political autonomy and complete enfranchisement, in which we live by the rules of our own making. Marx believed that there are four specific ways in which alienation pervades capitalist society, and these four aspects make up his theory of alienation. The four aspects are the alienation from the product of labor, the alienation from the labor process, the alienation from our fellow human beings, and the alienation from our own human nature. Marx believed that the first aspect of alienation that results from a capitalist society occurs because the labor is external to the worker, in that it does not belong to his nature, therefore he does not find happiness in it. The worker is then only himself when he is not working, and when he is working, he does not feel at home. This means that his labor is not voluntary, but forced. This, in turn, creates an alienation from the product of labor. The second type of alienation, according to Marx, is the alienation of the worker from the act of producing. Workers do not control the process of their work because they do not own the means of production. In a capitalist system, the workers have to work under the direction of the entrepreneur and also leave the product in the entrepreneur's possession after they are done working. The alienation of the worker from the act of producing renders the worker unable to specialize in any type of productive labor, which is a psychologically satisfying condition. Within an industrial system of production, this kind of social alienation renders the worker to an instrument or an object who cannot productively apply every aspect of his or her human nature. The third aspect of alienation is when workers become alienated from each other. As workers have no control over the process or the product of their production, they have no significant control over how they relate to each other. They all become an extension of the means of production that the owners of the capital buy and which the managers of industry employ to create and maximize profits. Brahman relates this to issues in the United States in which workers find themselves pitched and played off each other, such as between white men and women and black men. The fourth and arguably most important aspect of the alienation of labor, according to Marx, is the estrangement of workers from their own human nature. He believed that capitalism hinders natural human instinct and prevents workers from working freely under their own free will. What distinguishes the human species, according to Marx, is that we are able to produce things that have no practical use, such as merely beautiful things. Under capitalist conditions in which jobs are reduced to simple repetitive tasks, workers are unable to fully develop their human potential. Marx explains that the horizon of human beings is wider than that of other animals because it transcends the limits of survival needs of other species. This horizon, according to Marx, is universal and only occurs when human beings are able to act on their own free will. This is impossible under capitalist conditions. Marx definitely presents a solid argument for his theory of alienation. While his points primarily apply to 19th century working conditions in Europe, the core concepts of his argument still relate to issues in contemporary society. Although the working conditions and production processes in the workplace have drastically improved since Marx's time, work is still largely depersonalized for people across society. While this depersonalization may not be as extreme as Marx originally describes it to be, workers today are still isolated from their essential being and from society, as they are forced to work 9-to-5 jobs that they don't even enjoy just to keep a roof over their heads. This type of alienation leads to a breakdown of social norms and values that prevent humans from actually being humans. Marx's idea of unequal wealth distribution is more relevant today than ever before, as the top 20% of the richest Americans own 85% of this country's wealth. Although the idea of big scary capitalists with top hats, coattails, and beer bellies no longer exists, Marx's theories about capitalism and alienation still apply to issues that we face today.